Welcome to Module 8, Finding Domain and Range. Now, the domain is the set of all allowable x values, and the range is the set of all possible y values. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be finding domains and ranges based on the graphs of these things right here. So right here on this first one, we'll take a look at this, and we'll have domain and range. Now, the domain is all the x values this takes on, and really we can think of there being little arrows here, like this is going off to infinity, this is going off to infinity. So, if you think about this, like which x values is there an associated y? Well, we can't see it, but for this x value here, if you go up, there would be a y. For this x value here, you go up, there would be a y. That one there's being a y, etc., etc., etc. So the domain of this is all real numbers. We can write all real numbers. Or another way to denote that is the interval that starts at negative infinity and goes to infinity. That is, x values keep going that way, all of them have a y value represented, and they also keep going that way. Now the range here is all of the y values, and notice there aren't any, the graph isn't taking on these y values down here. That is, when we're reading like x's, we're usually reading from left to right. When we're reading y's, we're reading from the bottom to the top, or the lowest values to the highest values. So there's not even a y value until we get to right here, and you'll notice that right there is negative 2. So it does take on y equals negative 2. So we put a square in bracket, meaning we want to include this value negative 2. And then it takes on negative 2, and it keeps going. Like this graph keeps going up and up and up and up and up, and it's going to keep going that way forever. So it starts at negative 2 and goes all the way to infinity. That is, those are the y values that graph takes on. So that right there is the domain and range of that function. Now if we look at the second one, I'll do it up here, I guess. We can think about this next one in the context of there are arrows. So this is going out this way as far as it can go. It's going out this way as far as it can go. So once again, every x value, you can pick an x value, there's going to be a point that's associated with that in terms of y. Pick that x value, there's going to be something down here. Way out here, I don't know what the y value is going to be, but we can go down there and it's going to hit the graph. So the domain of this again is all real numbers, which we can denote as the interval from negative infinity to infinity. So domain, we're talking about what x values are associated with this graph. Now, the range is what y values are happening. Now notice, because this is going down, it's going to keep going down all the way to negative infinity. So as we're reading from the bottom up to the top, this is going all the way down. It goes as low as you want in terms of y. So it starts at negative infinity and then goes all the way up to here. But this is the highest y value it takes on, and we look over there. That's y equals 6. It does take on the value 6, so we want to include that. So we put a square in bracket, and that right there is the domain and range of that. Okay. So, on these next two we look at, they're a little bit different. On this first one right here, notice, it doesn't take on every x value. In fact, over here, there's no graph above it or below it. Here, there's no graph above it or below it. There's nothing going on with that. So, we notice, where does the graph start? It starts right here. Now, the open circle, much like when we were graphing solution sets of inequalities, means we're not including that point. So, even though this x starts at 1, because we have that circle, the domain is going to start at 1, but we're not including 1. Now, it goes, this first piece goes from 1 to 2, and it includes 2. The second piece doesn't include 2, but goes to 3. So it includes 3. So this point basically fills in that circle. That point fills in that circle, and we notice it goes from 1 to 2, to 3, to 4, to 5, and then right there, it ends. So it starts at 1, but because we have that circle, it doesn't include it. It goes all the way to 5. Because we have a closed-in circle of 5, it does include that. Now, let me erase this because I can't quite see this. Now, in terms of y values, if we notice these things up here, like it takes on, like this graph right here, it takes on y equals 5, but it's also, the y values take on 5, 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, 5.4, everything up there. Same thing down here, it takes on 0, y equals 0, but y equals 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, everything between 0 and 1. And we can see that because the graph is totally filled in. Now down here, it doesn't. Like, what y values does this take on? Well, it only takes on 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's not an interval because we're not including 1.5 and 1 3/4 and 1 5/8 and those sorts of things. So when we're talking about just a set of points, 1, 2, 3, 4, we use just a set bracket, and we say it takes on 1, 2, 3, so it takes on 1, 2, 3, and 4. And those are the only values it takes on. The domain, we have an interval because it takes on 1.5 and 1 3/4 and 1 5/7 and all of those things in between. But with the y's, it only takes on 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, that's going to give us rise as to what happens over here. Now, notice, this is just a set of points. Like, in terms of x, it takes on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Oh, excuse me. It looks like we stop at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it looks like we stop here at 5. But it doesn't take on like half or 3/4 or x equals 5/7 or anything like that. So the domain here, and this is a discrete set of points. It's just a set of points. It's not filled in. It's not a graph. So when we have that, what values does x take on? Well, x takes on 0. It takes on 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's the domain. And just like this graph over here, it just takes on those points. Now with the range, it has the exact same range as does the domain. And notice, because this point, if we think about it, is 0, 0. This point is 1, 1. Then we have 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, and 5, 5. So the range, we have y equals 0, y equals 1, y equals 2, 3, 4, and 5 on there. And that is the range. So hopefully that made sense. And when we're looking for domain, we're looking for all the x values it takes on. When we're looking for the range, we're looking for all the y values it takes on. See you next time.